Hi, how are you doing, Grace?
Living life, breathing air, as they say
I
on
know
every
somehow we're gonna get
yeah.
there.
Yeah. I don't know why I was like concerned that you wouldn't get the reference and I was like I need to cite my source.
Of course, I know the iCarly reference.
Okay, but like did you have iCarly as the homepage on your computer as a child? Because I did.
Why did you have that?
I don't know. I don't know. I just did.
How did you manage to figure that out?
I don't know. I guess it was really important to me and I spent the time and I got it to where I needed it to be.
You were really living life and breathing air.
Yeah, I really, really was. And I was on the website constantly. And I honestly, it's funny because like I was able to figure it out so fast when I was really little to like get it as my home screen. But then I had it as my home screen until I was maybe like 14 because I couldn't figure out how to switch it. So it was around for a while. It
Oh
was
my
around.
gosh.
Yeah, yeah. But you know who else is living their life and breathing air?
Oh no, where are we going with this? Who?
My transitions have gone so downhill. Like I had one good transition once and I'm like I will continue the legacy, but I really haven't. But Nat Wolf from the Naked Brothers band
I
is
loved that show.
yeah. I didn't really watch it.
It's
But
currently getting canceled on TikTok. It was one of my,
really,
yeah,
why? What
because of
happened? I know
nepotism.
I know nothing about it.
Oh, the Wolf brothers dad like funded the show and was the main actor on it. Like he played their dad. And then
Oh.
Polly Draper is their mom, and I feel like she's some kind of director, actress kind of thing. I feel like there was something with the Coppolas in there where they're
Oh.
affiliated. I don't know.
Is it
Something,
the kind of
something.
thing where they like claim to be like, oh, I came up from obscurity? Is it like they're neglecting the fact that they had connections, or are people just like over it because they had connections? Hey y'all, it's me, Grace. See, we tend to have a lot of microphone difficulties on this here show, and today was no exception. So, here's a brief little intermission. I hope y'all had a great day.
Okay, we're back.
We're back. We were in the middle of a very important discussion about nepotism in the Naked Brothers band.
Yeah, I don't think it's because they were trying to hide their wealth. I think
Hmm.
they just, you know, used it.
Yeah, and probably didn't mention it, kind of a
Yeah,
deal. Like
yeah,
even if they didn't deny it, they weren't very forthcoming with the information. Got it.
you
Got
betcha.
it. Ooh, what do you have in that mug today? What you
Oh,
drinking?
this is my designated Earl Grey mug. It's got
Oh,
space all over it, and I just think it's the color of like what I think Earl Grey would be.
fair enough.
I am allergic to bergamot, which is the main ingredient in Earl Grey tea, but I still really like it. Also, there's
Of course.
lavender in there.
Of course you are. But of course you're just going with it anyways. The way that like in the 4 or 5 years that I've known you, you like go in and out of like, I'm deciding that I will eat gluten for now. Actually, I can't eat gluten now. And I'm just
Listen,
always, I'm like, so I have two kinds of pasta in my home. Which one are we feeling today? The one with or without it?
listen, it's been years of trying to figure this stuff out. For a
Yeah.
while, when I was like 18, 17 or 18, I was vegan. And I was like, this is going to solve all of my problems. I'm a sensitive lady and things happen in my tummy that I don't know what it's from. And so I was like, I'm vegan. And then things happened to my body that were not supposed to happen because I wasn't getting enough calories in. And so then I was like, well, I'll try being gluten free for a while. And that just didn't really happen because I was living with my parents at the time and I just didn't need to be on a completely separate diet and I didn't feel the need to go into the doctor. This is a long story. Anyway, I've tried excluding and including many things into my diet and I've narrowed down that the reasons why I feel discomfort in my torso area is from gluten. So I am
Fair enough.
permanently gluten-free now.
If it works, it works. I mean, hey, my mom always had like gluten-free bread and granola bars for you at my house in high school. So
Yeah. Thank you, Grace's mom.
love her. Love her.
We do love her.
What was the other? Oh my gosh, I totally had something else I was going to mention. It is absolutely slipping my mind.
Oh.
But yeah, gluten-free. Huh. What I was going to say, on top of maybe just, a gluten intolerance, it's very Virgo of you to be having these tummy issues. It's very Virgo of the both of us to have all of these tummy unhappinesses.
Never have I ever met a Virgo who doesn't have some sort of eating issue.
Yeah, no, I'm constantly just like so hyper focused on my stomach. I'm like, is something going wrong? And it's literally just that I'm hungry. I'm like, what is that feeling? What is it? Is that an ulcer? Girl, no, it's not. just eat a piece of toast and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Or they could eat. Oh, I'm really trying so hard to find connectors back to this movie.
To the movie? Have we even mentioned what we watched?
We watched Paper Towns. We watched good old John Green's Paper Towns with Miss Cara Delevingne and Nat Wolff, which was the whole Naked Brothers band tangent that we had and never explained.
Yeah, bring it back around.
Just dove right into a completely different thing. Do you have the little synopsis?
I do have the synopsis. So, Paper Towns came out in 2015. It was rated PG-13. Wow.
Oh, zesty.
So, young and shy Quentin is in for the night of his life when Margot, the most popular student in high school, recruits him to help her play mischievous pranks on the friends who betrayed her. The next day, however, the mysterious Margot is nowhere to be found. And then it has 6.2 out of 10 on IMDb and 58% Rotten Tomatoes, which, I think is very high. Mm-hmm. And probably not the real rating. I'm sure a lot of people were paid to give that rating.
Yeah. My honest overall thought, I know we obviously haven't even gone into the plot or anything yet, but my overall takeaway feeling from this movie was that it had the opportunity to be interesting. The storyline itself isn't all that bad, but the pacing or there's something about it that just made it boring despite the fact that interesting things were happening. And I didn't understand where the disconnect was. The whole mystery and all that, it felt like it could have been fun, but I didn't enjoy it. I just didn't.
Did you read the book in middle school?
No, I never read the book. I think I one time started The Fault in Our Stars, but I don't think I ever finished it because I just saw the movie and then didn't feel the need.
Yeah, I feel like I had a stage in my life where I read some John Green books. I remember reading The Fault in Our Stars. I remember reading Paper Towns, and then Will Grayson. I don't remember if that was a John Green or if it was someone else. Mm-hmm. But I remember reading all of those books and getting super into them. And then I did see Paper Towns in the theater when it came out, and I was like, what is this?
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Was the book better? I mean, a lot of times that is the case, but
I don't remember. I really don't remember, and I don't really care to go back and read it.
Fair enough. Well, no, I'm not. I would never ask you to. But I was just curious because again, I felt like there was a good chance with what the story itself is. It felt like it should have captured me more, but it just didn't. And again, I don't know if that's a casting problem or a pacing problem. But yeah, I guess we should get into the plot a little bit for those at home. One other quick stat, just because I found it interesting to look up the budget and box office success of our last movie. Our last movie, So Undercover by Miss Miley Cyrus. If you didn't listen to that episode, you should. It was a bundle of something, and it had a budget of $15.5 million. Need I remind, or $15 million. This movie had a budget of $12 million, and that just boggled my brain that So Undercover had a bigger budget than a John Green movie. Like, that was crazy. But of course, it did a little better. In the box office, it made $85.5 million. So they got a return on their investment this time.
Yeah, I bet they just didn't really need a very big budget because
Right.
of the plot. I mean, they're just going to like abandoned areas, a high school, and using a really old minivan. So I'm going to guess that most of the budget went to the actors' payment.
That's true. And also, even for the actors, I mean, Nat Wolff and Cara Delevingne were probably like the two biggest names in this movie, unless I'm forgetting someone else that was in this. But Cara Delevingne, who arguably is the more famous of the two, was only in it for like 10 minutes. You know, like she's just in the very beginning and the very end. So she while she probably made good money, they probably didn't have to pay her nearly as much, you know, as if she was in the whole thing. So yeah, and maybe that's one of the reasons why it didn't land the way that it probably should have, is maybe they should have invested a little bit more money into a few more things. But I think they were kind of banking off of the hopes of, kind of riding the success wave of The Fault in Our Stars, since that was so huge. I think they just kind of were like, oh, any John Green movie will also be a success, which like this technically was. They did get a return on their investment, but I looked it up and I think that The Fault in Our Stars had like 300 million in the box office or something crazy like that. So it's in comparison to your last one, like, yeah, it was a success, but not in the same ballpark. So yeah.
Yeah, both of them had nepotism boys.
Yeah. That's what you got. So yeah, the movie starts off, Nat Wolff, he's the main character. His character's name is Quentin, or Q for short. And Cara Delevingne plays Margot. And it starts off with this whole monologue of how everyone gets a miracle in their life, and my miracle was living across the street from Margot, which the absolute drama. Like, I don't know, man. I moved a decent amount as a child, and like I had better and worse neighbors and better or worse friends that I lived nearby. But never would I ever have, like, not even just like neighbor wise, but like crush wise, never was I ever like, oh, my crush is my miracle. Like, that is so dramatic. Like, he set himself up for failure by calling her that. That is too much power. But it starts off showing how when they were little kids, they were really good friends, went biking all the time. Real quickly dropped in the fact that they stumbled upon a dead body one time when they were out on a bike ride.
That was my first note. I was like, what's up with the dead guy? And I do remember that in the book too, how they just never circled back around to that, or why that was so impactful.
Right. Like, I think it might have been, I think it was meant to be kind of like a moment where Margot changed, like, because then he was like, she was so obsessed with the mystery of it, and then she became a mystery herself. But like, it felt like they could have played into it more, or brought it back up at some point. Like, it was just kind of weird that it's like, well, we saw a dead body once and now she's this quirky girl that we just don't understand. Like, I don't know, it felt like it could have been talked about a little more. Not that I'm saying I wanted the whole movie to be talking about this dead body that they found, but like,
I know what you mean.
Like, it could have felt a little bit more developed or explained. Like, you kind of have to put the pieces together yourself to understand why it happened. But yeah, that was kind of it. And then just slowly over time, they drift apart because she's now a mysterious woman. And then the movie kind of cuts to them being in their senior year of high school, is when the rest of the movie takes place. Yeah, oh god, just the drama of she almost became one herself. Come on. She's my miracle and she's my mystery.
My God. Get a life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like,
Relax.
I cannot imagine at a certain point, like, how do you continue to have a crush on someone that doesn't give you the time of day for that long? For that long? Like, from the age of, like, 5 until you're 18? No. Like, I understand that she's across the street, so you see her a lot, but you know what I mean? Like, could you imagine ever having a crush on the same person for 13 years?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Fine.
I don't, but I could imagine that for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Clarifier. I understand for like long-term relationships that's like different. But if it's a crush that's unrequited and they don't pay you any attention, like at a certain point, that's just pain. That's just painful. That is so painful. But moving along, yeah, they drift apart and they're in their senior year of high school. And then one night, as the little snippet that you read mentions, Margot sneaks into his room and is like, we need to go on an adventure. Let's take your mom's car. And he's hesitant, but does it. And basically, Margot's boyfriend, Jace, had cheated on her with her best friend. What was the name? I wrote all of this down.
Good, because I really didn't.
Yeah, no, I always have to write down the character's name, or else I would have been like, you know, the one guy that did the one thing with the one girl. No, Becca. Becca is the friend that cheated. Or Jace cheated on Margot with. She never really comes back up, other than the fact that like she was a horrible friend. Same with Jace. And the other friend that's also getting pranked this night is named Lacey. Or actually, there was another one. It was Jace, Becca, the two cheaters, and then Lacey and a guy named Chuck, who is Jace's best friend. Jace... Or, oh God, there's so many names. Chuck and Lacey basically got pranked because they were considered accomplices in Margot's mind. Like, oh, you didn't tell me that he was cheating. And then, of course, the other two are the cheaters. And so, yeah, they go to Becca's house, and she could tell that they were clearly doing things in the basement. And she exposed that to Becca's dad.
Exposed.
Exposed. Speaking of exposed, Jace then comes out of the basement window full naked, whole man butt. I had to see a man butt for a long time in this movie. He was naked for far too long.
Hold the drama, mama.
Oh my goodness. Male nudity, no need. Ever, never ever.
Yeah, I agree.
But
I'm gonna have to agree with that.
So then, I'm already forgetting names. Quentin takes a picture of him as he's running away, which, child pornography a little bit, but, you know, just breeze past it.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. Yeah. But he uses it as blackmail as well, which is so cute and so fun. But then, like, while Becca's dad is going off on Becca, then Margot and Q sneak in, leave a catfish, spray paint an M, and then they're off to the next house. They go to Lacey's. They saran wrap the car. So original. And then they, like, use Nair to take off one of Chuck's eyebrows. So
I do remember that part.
Yeah. Well, I would hope so.
I remembered that from childhood. There were
okay.
like different pieces of the movie that really stuck in my brain from childhood, and that happens whenever I watch a movie. And the only things I really remember was the Nair, Cara Delevingne, and that they went to Costco together and pretended it was a regular grocery store.
Fair enough. Yeah, because they had to pick up supplies before they went on their little rampage.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I spent way too much time explaining these pranks, but anyways, that was their night. However, it would be important to note, and I think it's also just a real fun, cringy quote to remember while they are at this Costco, pretending that it is a very simple, small grocery store. Quentin looks at the list made by Margot and notices that there are random capital letters in all of the words that she writes. That goes on to be kind of an important thing that comes back later. When he's trying to look for her, he can always tell where she's been because she writes really weirdly, because she writes with capitals all across the place, not like fully all caps, but just like at random. And I had to go back and rewind it because I was like, I absolutely need to get this quote word for word. When he asks about it, why she does it, she said, "I'm a big believer in random capitalization. The rules are so unfair to the letters in the middle."
Okay. If I heard someone say that in real life, I would take that as a really big red flag and I would walk away.
Yeah.
I think as Virgos, we see the bigger picture there, and that's not a practical way to be spelling.
No, I mean, I write, like, my handwriting is in all caps, but like, you gotta choose one or the other. Just E. Like, I just think of like the SpongeBob meme whenever I saw anything that was written by her. I was like, "Here's a word." Like, that's how I was reading everything.
That's
like,
Aries
you're supposed
behavior.
to be sarcastic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and that was so cringy. But
she's not like other girls, Grace. What do you expect?
That's her.
She's like the epitome of a manic pixie dream girl, except she doesn't have to be even like those girls, because she can do it with like a natural hair color, and she can just like be herself. She doesn't even have to fit in with the manic pixie dream girls, because she's just not even like those girls. She's just like so different.
No, she's got her long straight hair and it's her natural brown. She had an aggressive side part that let you know that it was the 2010s. But
yes, absolutely. I had that hairstyle for all of like elementary, middle school.
Oh my God. I wanted it so bad, but the problem is I have a bit of like a natural colic and like split in my hair. So I would still attempt it. Like in middle school, I used to still like, try to part it like really, really far over. And I remember one of the girls in the grade above me, I was like trying to do like faux like swoopy bangs, and I had bunch of hairspray and trying to like, I'm not like other girls, but I'm also trying to follow the trend.
The effort.
Yeah. But this girl, one of the girls in the grade above us that I played soccer with, just like walked up to me, reparted my hair, and was like, "No." She just was like, "Don't do that." And I was like, "Fair enough."
Oh,
it was so painful, but also I didn't really fully listen to her. Like, I still did it, but she tried to save me from a world of pain, and I did not listen at all.
You're gonna have to tell me who that was after this, because I really want to know.
I will. I'll tell you who it was. But there was also my 8th grade school picture. I feel you've seen it at some point, because one of our friends, Elizabeth, she had a picture. She had a sticker version of it on the back of her phone in high school. It's so bad. It's so bad. And maybe with Elizabeth's permission, I have some pictures of her and I with it. It's so funny. I tried so hard. And I even remember when I took my 8th grade school picture, at our middle school, or at my middle school, we went to different middle schools, but they would take your school picture. I think it was like the day before school started or something. It was like an orientation day, I believe. And one of my other friends that was in the grade above me, her mom was there. And I was like, aggressively parting my hair to the side. And like after I took the picture, she was like, "Oh, She just was kind of like, "Oh, that was a choice." And I was like the way that I got flamed so many times for trying to part my hair so far. And I still kept trying to. I went through a lot. I was very ugly in middle school, and I kind of leaned into it. I kind of just let it happen.
I did not lean into it. I tried to lean so far out that I just leaned myself right back in.
Well, yeah, honestly, that's what I was going for. Like, I say that I was leaning into it, but it wasn't on purpose. It was definitely me thinking I was doing something, but just completely making myself the ugliest girl in the room at all times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, God. Oh,
I was
side
just this
parts.
giant child that was
Oh,
just
yeah.
really not cute.
Oh,
And
yeah,
then
the both of
everyone else
us.
in my grade was very cute. So I just looked so awkward.
Oh, you and me both. You and me both. I was like, I mean, we've mentioned that, like, how we both were early puberty girlies. Um, I remember it was like the summer between third and fourth grade. I suddenly was like 4'11", and I grew like 6 inches over the summer, and I just was like fee fi fo fum, especially because I was living on the East Coast at the time, and here I am, this like burly Midwestern, just like knocking people over as I walk in the room. It was so embarrassing. Literally, this one girl that lived 2 houses away from me, one of my like best friends that I had when I lived in Connecticut. I guess, yeah, I kept saying East Coast. I lived in Connecticut. We all got to do what we got to do. It was an interesting time. But one of my like best friend's moms, who again lived 2 houses away from me, definitely probably saw me at some point over the summer. When she saw me on the first day of school, she was like, "Oh, I didn't recognize you. You are bigger." And it was so bad. It was so bad. It was so embarrassing. And I've held on to that memory. I will tell you, I've held on to that.
I bet you have. That's awful.
It was horrendous. It was so bad. It was so embarrassing.
Oh, no.
And now I'm like on the shorter side of average. So, life is cruel. Life is cruel. Where were we? So they went about pranking everybody, and then they ended up, because again, Margot is like such a quirky girl, has so many connections, and like nobody knows how to tie her down. After they did all of these pranks, they went to the SunTrust building, which I guess is just some business building, some really tall business building, in the middle of the night, because she's like, "Oh, I know the guard, his name's Gus." And they walk in and she's just like, "I'm going upstairs, Gus." Okay, girl. Like, why even make that connection? Why are you even becoming... Anyways, they go up to this random like boardroom in the SunTrust building, and they're like looking over the town, and she's like, "See, those are the houses that we hit, and there's no cops, so we're fine." And then goes off on this tangent about how Orlando is a paper town, and everyone's made of paper and fake, and it's all garbage.
She was really ahead of her
so
time,
fun.
because I feel like that's the attitude of a lot of kids right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, life doesn't matter, and
which, I mean,
it's okay.
Does she have a point?
She does have a point, but like, I don't know. She's not special.
Yeah. No, not at all. Like, the way that everyone at her high school is like, "Oh my God, she's so crazy." I'm like, she saran wrapped one of her friend's cars. Like, it's really not that deep. Like, she's still very much a 17-year-old. Like, no, come on. She would just like disappear for a few days, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, do you think she's modeling in Milan?" No, I really don't. I really don't believe that that's what's happening. I mean, Cara Delevingne, maybe. Margot, no. No. But the whole, obviously this is like where the title of the movie comes in, but the whole idea of like paper towns comes back and is important later when he's trying to find her. And again, like the little thing that you read explains, then the next day he's like, "Oh my God, I think I have a chance with her," because they like slow danced while they were in the SunTrust Tower. And one of the last things that they said to each other is, he said, "Do you think things will be different tomorrow?" And she said, "I hope so." So he thought he had a chance. This man really thought he had a chance. And
Q is a bottom.
Q is both that, but also has an incredibly strong main issue with believing that he's a main character when he's not. That's literally like the takeaway of the whole movie, is that he just was so presumptuous and so strongly believed that he was a main character. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but
Q walked so golden retriever boys could run.
Yeah. Honestly, I think another problem that I had with this movie was like they never gave me much of a reason to root for Quentin. Like,
Yes.
Other than the fact that he was the main character in the movie, why do I care whether or not he ends up with Margot? Like, he doesn't have any kind of charisma. He doesn't have any kind of they never show like, oh, he's the kindest guy ever and people don't look at him, but he really means well and is this great person. It was just like, she's my neighbor and deserves to date me. Come on. It's like, I don't know that she does.
Yeah, they're really not making it easy to root for a cis straight white boy.
No, not at all. They give me no reason to care. And I really think that was a big part of the problem, is like, I wasn't invested in whether or not he got what he wanted. Like, the mystery part of it's kind of interesting, and like the clues that she leaves behind are kind of interesting, but he himself is not. And he's the main character, and I have to care about whether or not the character gets what they want. But then the next day he's at school and we're introduced. The main thing that's important is she's not there, and we're introduced to his two best friends, who are named Radar and Ben. I do not like Ben. That's another problem for me, is I absolutely hate his best friend Ben. He's so gross. He constantly was making like all of these jokes about like how hot he finds Quentin's mom to be, and it was just so gross. It was so gross.
I think that was just kind of like how boys were expected to be at the time. He's a very similar character to let me just Google search Michael Cera really quick. He's a very similar character to that one kid from that one movie.
Right. I love that movie.
Oh, what's his name? What is that movie called? Why Superbad? He's like that kid from Superbad with the glasses, who's like, who has a fake ID that says he's from Hawaii. What's
McLovin?
McLovin. He has a very similar character type to McLovin, and I think that's just, you know, nerdy boys at the time. I mean, The Big Bang Theory was really huge around this time too, so it was kind of like a thing for like nerdy quote unquote underdog boys to be super into women and really objectifying them. I just think it was
just so fun.
Which is super fun. Yeah, it's not cute when anyone does it. It's not cute when really macho supermen do it. It's not cute when little nerdy boys do it. It's not cute when lesbians do it. It's just stop. You're gross.
Yeah. And again, like this is such like a side tangent, but like the other day when I was on Instagram, listen, I love a good hockey jersey. I've got plenty of them. This is literally like the second or third time I've worn one during the pod. I collect them and I love them. They're really cool. I like the design of them. So on my Instagram Explore page, a lot of times I'll get like hockey videos or pictures or stuff. And one time it was like this company, I don't even know what it is, but I think it's ran by like high school hockey boys. It's like this clothing company where it's so gross. Like all of their phrases, it's just like a bunch of like hockey dude phrases or whatever. And one of them was something about like sniping hockey moms. And I was like, that is so gross. It's like almost like a reverse pedophilia, kind of nasty, but it still like plays into that. And that's just so gross to me. I'm like, why do you look at your friend's parents like that? That is so incredibly gross. Like,
because boys are allowed to do anything.
It's just so nasty. And again, it's dehumanizing to the mothers. Like, that's just such a gross trope to just play into. I hated it. And that's why I don't like Ben. And I'm so upset that Ben actually gets what he wants throughout the movie, and that annoys it. I hate it. I also don't like it.
I've just been comparing it to when I first saw it in the theater, but I remember him being like a really popular, really well liked character.
In general
like when the movie came out. I just think there's been like a huge cultural shift about like how boys should be, but I don't think that he's exactly an outdated personality type.
I don't think it's outdated at all. I just think it's the kind of personality that's more likely these days to get called out. But I still think that person very much exists.
I don't think he is very likely to get called out, though. I mean, we're gay, so we're different.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I have straight friends, and I feel like although their like taste in men is just like in general very questionable, I don't know that they would exactly like denounce this boy for what he's doing and saying, because he's still like a little nerd boy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that
he's just like Like golden retriever boys right now are just this kid wrapped in different packaging. They're just this kid with Depop clothes. So I don't
Yeah.
necessarily think that this kind of person has gone away. I think they just look a little different.
Yeah, and I think part of it also, especially with someone like Ben, it versus like a hockey boy or something. Like I feel like we're more likely to chastise more of a macho man because like we already think of them as being hyper masculine and like having these thing like, you know, we already think of them as being like on the grosser side, you know, whether it's fair or not, versus like a nerdy boy is like, oh, it's the nice guy that always finishes last, but he makes little jokes every now and then. Like I know my freshman year of college, if this man is listening to this podcast, I don't know how you refound me, but I didn't like you. Like I'm honestly like, and this is, I'm not going to say his name or anything, but my freshman year of college, I really struggled to make friends, and we had an orientation week, and there was this one guy in my group that constantly like wanted to hang out with me. I could tell that he was interested in me, but I quickly like came out to him and told him I had a girlfriend, but he still wanted to hang out with me. And again, like I really was struggling to get to know people, so I kind of just hung out with him because I was lonely. But he was so incredibly misogynistic and he was so incredibly rude, but he totally played into the whole like, but I'm a nerdy guy, but I'm so sweet, and oh, woe is me, the one girl that I thought had interest in me is a lesbian. Like he just, it's so incredibly, oh, I don't know. It reminds me of him, and I think that might be part of why I'm like really really annoyed by it. Like the last time I ever saw him was at the end of first semester, and he basically made he made a joke making light of sexual assault, and then I was like, nope, never gonna see you ever again. Like before that, he had been very rude to me about like, I remember I was ranting to him one time because I was on the girls lacrosse team and how they never woke up early enough on time to turn on the lights for us to practice, but they would do it for the boys team and all of this stuff. And he was like, well, I mean, you are on the girls lacrosse team. Who would care? Like he was so horrible. I really let him walk all over me, and it was not good. But you know, that was very much my last straw when he made that joke. But yeah, I guess, yeah, Ben definitely triggered something in me. And I think I just now realized that it was because of this former friend. If you're listening and you know who you are, reassess a few things. And I hope you've changed.
Yeah. And also, if you're listening and you're confused as to why two lesbians are criticizing the behavior of straight men, I just think that if anyone is going to be able to call straight men out on their bullshit, it's going to be lesbians, because
I have nothing to gain from them.
Not only do we have nothing to gain, but we also have nothing to lose. Like, it's just not, I personally feel that it's not as safe for straight girls to call men out on their behavior, because there's still ultimately that sense that men think they have, that they still have a chance with that person. Mm-hmm. But if you are a woman that is attracted to other women and have, you know, been in relationships, you obviously have, you know, authority over a straight boy who behaves in that way. And I think it's important for lesbians to call men out on their stupid behavior to keep other girls safe. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that really got me riled up. Like, I have not seen or heard from this man in 4 years, and I'm still like, oh, why I oughta.
Yeah, but it's so ingrained in pop culture that it's okay for boys to be that way, you know, even if it doesn't directly affect you. And obviously his behavior did directly affect you because you're very, very annoyed. But at the same time, you know, like it's just, nobody enjoys being around someone who is like that. So stop being like that.
Simply quit it.
All those people on YouTube that are searching lesbian feet, I hope you're straight men and listening to what we have to say.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, I was, for reference to those listening, I was looking at our analytics on YouTube, and the way that we've been found most often on YouTube is by people searching lesbian feet, because I thought it was a good idea to have that in the title of one of our episodes, which was so naive of me. I was not thinking of it in any kind of way other than the fact that there was a joke about lesbian feet in Bend It Like Beckham. But here we are. To all of those men, I hope you've learned something and had a good time listening to our commentary on a 2000s soccer movie.
I think it's safe to assume that people searching lesbian feet are going to be straight men.
Yeah, it's pretty safe. It's pretty safe. Oh God, where even were we in the movie? I don't know. I think I remember Ben. Oh, it was the day after the pranks. It was the day after the prank.
They're talking at school, and then they go to. I think it was the other kid that has whose dad has a Black Santa collection. What's his name? Radar.
Radar's the other best friend. Yeah.
To play video games, and they're talking on beanbags while playing video games. And this conversation just didn't need to happen.
No.
I have a note in here that every time they talk, it just didn't need to be there. It's almost like they were sitting in for like a B-roll montage, and everything they were saying was going to be taken out anyway, so they were just saying whatever.
Yeah.
Like, did they have a script? I'm convinced that they just didn't have a script.
They thought this was their Parks and Rec, everyone's such a good comedian, so they can just go off the cuff. Like, no.
Or they're trying to be method, which is even more embarrassing.
Oh, God. Method acting to be a 17-year-old boy? That's gross. Like, what's that even going to do? Like, there was no way this was ever going to go for any kind of Oscars. It's giving House of Gucci, you know? Like, it's giving, what was the Joker? Who played the Joker, but was like a total...
I don't fucking know. Was it Jared Leto? I have no idea.
Jared Leto, yeah.
Was it really? That was a complete guess. I had
he
no
went
idea.
Like completely method for it, and everyone was like I think Margot Robbie basically, I think she said she's like never gonna work with him ever again. She refuses to work because he was just being so horrible the whole time, and like sent like dead animals to people, and like. Yeah, he's got a lot of his own problems. I mean, he's a cult leader, for goodness sakes. Like, he's got some things to reassess. But yeah, they were having this conversation, and basically the whole thing was just them kind of like, well, you're a virgin. Well, you're a virgin. No, you're a virgin. So it's like, okay, I don't care. I don't.
Boys will be boys, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of their conversations and a lot of their friendship in general just felt very boys will be boys. And I was like, all right. But yeah, then they end up actually I think they were at Quentin's house. They mentioned that Radar has his parents collect Black Santas, but I think they were at Quentin's house because I believe this is the same scene where they look out the window and they first notice that Margot has left a clue.
Yes.
Yeah.
You are correct.
Yeah. So basically she left a picture of, I wrote this down. What was the musical artist? Oh my goodness.
Good thing you wrote it down.
Woody Guthrie?
Also do not remember.
Woody Guthrie?
Oh. Yeah.
There was a picture of him in her window, and Quentin's like, that's so strange. So they go over because at this point, you know, Margot's missing. And I guess scene before this, Margot's parents basically were like, she's not missing. She left. We don't care, which is... I don't know, just a little side note. So she's gone, and they go over there, and Margot's little sister lets them into her room for a price. She knows that she's going to make her money. And they basically find, so there was a picture of Woody Guthrie, and they found a Woody Guthrie vinyl in her room where she had highlighted something on it, and it connected to a book, a Walt Whitman book. And this Walt Whitman book had a bunch of things like circled, starred, underlined, and there was this one section about like a door jam or something, about like take the door off the door jam completely. Quentin first thinks that it would be the door to her room, but he's wrong. It actually, there's a note in the door jam for his room with an address on it. So the next day, he and his two buddies skip their morning classes to go to this address, and it turns out to be a abandoned souvenir shop. They find a few like precarious things while they're there, but they don't find any solid clues the first time that they go. And then I think the next important things is that Lacey comes up to Quentin, and she starts coming up to Quentin more often because she's like, well, you're the last person that saw her. You must be important. Also mentions that she didn't know about Jace cheating with Becca, but she still really, like, she really cares about finding Margot, basically, and she thinks that Quentin will be able to find her, and always is kind of like asking for updates. And
wait.
Oh, yeah,
Did you notice when they're talking to Becca that all of their heads were cut off?
To Becca? You mean Lacey?
Lacey? Did you notice when they were talking to Lacey that all their heads were cut off?
No, not at all.
Oh, when they're talking by the lockers at school, the framing is so terrible that it like cuts off like around their eyebrow area, so you can't see like their full faces or their full hair. I found that to be very distracting. Anyway,
yeah. Also, Lacey is like meant to be, I was so confused with her wardrobe. It was like she was wearing business casual, but just like very buttoned down. I was like, who's wearing? I don't know. I just thought it was really funny. Like they were very confused as to what she was supposed to be. It was very, because they were like, she's the school hottie, but like she's wearing some, I don't know. I was very confused.
They couldn't figure out what the movie was going to be rated yet.
Yeah, they weren't sure.
PG or PG-13.
Oh yeah, they weren't sure. But
it was also a John Green movie, so they wanted the parents to not worry about it.
It was just such a weird, I feel like, for lack of a better term, I feel like the producers and the director of this movie were not sure what the overall vibe was supposed to be. Like, was it supposed to be button pushing teen movie, or is it supposed to be family friendly movie that happens to be about teens? You know,
I would agree that it was definitely. I looked it up while we were talking, and The Fault in Our Stars came out in 2014, and then this movie came out in 2015. So I'm kind of thinking that John Green was thrown a budget.
Okay.
And then they just started doing it, and it was one of those things where they're writing it on the fly, but they didn't hire very good writers. And I'm guessing that Cara Delevingne was probably cast last minute.
Well, and that was also in the big like Cara Delevingne like hype time. Like obviously she's still famous and all of that, but that was like back when she was first hitting the scene, and this was like her first movie, and like there was so much hype around her now going into acting, but it doesn't seem like she enjoyed it because she hasn't really done anything since, at least not that I remember.
I just don't know that it was a very high stakes film, and I doubt that
it was a movie they knew would make money no matter how bad it was. Yeah. Like people were gonna go to the next John Green movie, even though they probably knew it wasn't gonna make the kind of like Fault in Our Stars money, and I don't think they were trying to. I think they just knew it was a guaranteed return on their investment. Like no matter what money they gave it, people would see it. People would go.
Yeah, but it's definitely unfinished. Not quite like Cats the musical 2020 unfinished. But
it honestly scares me. Can we have a no cats policy? Like something crazy would have to happen before I'd be willing to watch Cats for this podcast. Like I will not do it for a very if we ever hit like some crazy number of subscribers or something, maybe. But no, I will not watch Cats. No, and I am trying to avoid it like the plague. I am very much trying to avoid that movie. Have you seen it?
Yeah. It is scarred in my brain. It is awful. The person I saw it with is an awful, terrible person, but they were like, this is one of my favorite movies. I love this movie. It was art. It was camp. I'm in love with it. And I was like, I hate you.
Oh, no. You're gonna
and
have
we
to
no
tell
longer
me.
speak.
You're going to have to tell. Would I know this person, or is it
yes.
like a random? Okay. You have to tell me who that is later.
And I watched it completely sober, and I really thought that I was going to have to like get up and vomit.
That's the thing is, honestly, I feel like it would make me physically sick. That's why, like, as much as like I love watching movies for the stupid chaos and it's so dumb, like I've gone to the movie theaters to see some very stupid movies. Like with some of my friends in high school. I definitely saw a Captain Underpants movie. I definitely saw like all of the Minion movies. I will watch dumb, but Cats just makes me like physically uncomfortable to the point that I feel like I would also feel sick.
It was awful. It's
Yeah.
like it's like that feeling of like if you ever played house with your friends when you were little and you just like were playing house for a little too long and you got a little too into it and it resolved in like, oh, what are we doing? Let's stop. It was that kind of feeling.
I don't know that I know that feeling.
If anyone knows the feeling that I'm talking about, where you just like get a little too into character and then you
got
just
a little
feel
confused
weird.
with what was reality.
Yeah, that kind of
God.
thing.
Oh, no, I didn't have that problem. I had other problems. I don't know why this like reminded me of this one story of one of my friends from when I lived in Connecticut, but I'll save that for a different time when it's more relevant. But
Gotcha.
no, I haven't had that issue, but I have used like VR headsets. Have you ever used one of those?
Mm-hmm.
One of my friends in college had one, and I don't understand how some people use those for like long periods of time. It is so distorting. Like, it's kind of fun at first, but like I don't really feel the need to own one. I'm like, if every now and then at a party someone has one, that's fine, but like I don't know, they kind of scare me a little bit. I get really like dizzy from it, but
Yeah, and I've only used them alone. I don't think there are very, very, very few people that I would trust to be around me while I'm in it.
Oh yeah. The few times that I've ever done it, I was either like at a small family get together or I was with like 3 other people. But oh God, no. Yeah, I don't like when the line of fake and reality gets crossed over, and I don't want to experience that with cats. So
No.
do
I
not
wouldn't
request
suggest it.
it in our Google form. I will not watch it. Again, it would have to be some kind of monumental event, and even then, probably not. I have my limits.
T Swizzle's in it though.
Is that supposed to entrance me, or is that like I'm a very I listen, I'm not out here saying like, oh, I'm anti Taylor Swift. I'm not anti Taylor Swift, but I'm not like one of those people that like, oh, anything she puts out I must listen to. Like, I'll listen to it, but I'm not enough of like a stan to be like, well, I have to watch it for her. I'm not watching Cats for Taylor. I'm not doing it. I would sooner of any of the people, I would watch it for Jennifer Hudson. But like, even for her, I'm like, girl, I can just like listen to your songs and then be done.
Yeah.
And I don't even need
would
to watch
say.
the music videos. I'll listen to your
absolutely.
tracks.
Her voice was amazing, but I did not need to see her in a cat suit with too much
No.
detail, but also not enough detail, and also her feet falling through the floor because of the editing.
No, if I'm gonna watch Jennifer Hudson in a movie, I'm gonna go back to Dreamgirls, and I'm gonna.
Dreamgirls.
I love Dreamgirls. I've watched it so many times. But yeah, and back to the movie we're talking about. Back to Paper Towns. At this point, Lacey lets them know that Jace, Margot's ex-boyfriend, is having a party. The only reason that this is important is because while at the party, Quentin finds a clue. He finds a map in Jace's room that clearly had been written on by Margot, and he recognizes the map as one that is at that old souvenir shop. Then he convinces his friends to go with him back to the souvenir shop, and they find the map that they need to find, and it's got a bunch of holes in it of different places, and they realize that one of the places with a hole in it is what's called a paper town. Basically, people that make maps a lot of times will put fake towns called paper towns on their maps. So if anyone is to copy their work, they can tell that it was copied because it has this very specific town that doesn't exist on it. Like, you wouldn't have it unless you copied me, kind of a deal. While they're at that souvenir shop, Lacey basically followed them there, and they all decide to go to this paper town that they think Margot's at. And this paper town is in New York, and they live in Orlando. So, yeah, they just decide that they're on their way. I was trying to do the mental math of, like, what day of the week it was to like, because it takes them 26 hours to get up there. So it's going to take you 26 hours to get back. And the one stipulation that all of the friends other than Quentin have is that they want to be back in time for prom. And I was just really trying to do the mental math of like, so did you leave on like a Thursday evening and then you returned and you had prom on a Sunday evening? So unimportant.
Probably.
But other little side note, on their way out of town, they end up stopping at Radar's girlfriend's house. Her name's Angela. And Angela decides to come with. So then they just hightail it out of there and decide to go to New York to possibly find Margot.
My logistical question is how, like, the odds of all of their parents being okay with that is not in their favor.
Oh my God. This was one of the things that bothered me so much. Like, I understand it would have been really inconvenient to make this story realistic, but you know, I breezed through all of the clues just so we could get to this conversation because it absolutely irked me. Not only like did their parents, like, they never even got like a text or a call from their parents. Quentin literally just steals his mom's car yet again, and all six of them, whatever. It's Ben, Radar, Quentin, Lacey, Angela, all five of them. Of all five of them, none of their approximately, I mean, give or take 10 parents that they have, none of them are like calling authorities to report a missing child, a missing car. And the parents, again, don't even like text their children to be like, you've been gone for a day and a half. Where did you go?
Yeah,
like,
I know like suburban kids are like a different breed of person. But remember that one time when we went to a drive-in movie and I got a little too sleepy and I passed out at our friend Ella's house and you woke up to a call from my mother and your mother and then my mother again and then your mother again and then my mother again.
We were in so much
asking
trouble.
where I was. And then to this day, my mom still tracks me on Find My Friends because she was so worried about where I was because I fell asleep without telling her where I was.
A monumental night.
She knew my plans for the night. She was just very worried. I mean, she's my mom, as she should.
Fair.
Minnesota. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, you like stayed at a friend's house with me for a night.
Yeah, with you, who she knows. And there's no way that she would let me drive from Minnesota to Texas, which is, you know, about the same thing.
Fair. Also fair on her part. I think that's a good decision. But yeah, no, it was like I was supposed to be your ride home and we were both too tired because it was literally like 1 a.m. and with us being like 18 and younger, we weren't supposed to be like on the road anyways. So we just stayed at a friend's house for the night. But I think you just like forgot to tell your mom. Yeah. And I guess I must not have told my mom either. I must have forgotten too. But yeah, that was a whole fiasco.
I was in deep shit. And we were even hanging out with our high school biology teacher.
Yeah, like the people that we were with at this drive-in movie couldn't have been more innocent and pure people that would never, ever have been like drinking, doing drugs. Like we literally had one of our teachers from school basically as a chaperone. Like, yeah, it was incredibly innocent. But yeah, I totally forgot about that. But like based off of that, I don't know who these kids' parents were, but they have a different level of trust that I don't understand. Because like even me, like obviously I'm not a parent, but like I can imagine if I was one, I would not be happy with this situation and I would not be like, oh, well, I guess the kids are gone. Kids will be kids. No. And all for what? So they can drive up to New York to maybe find someone, a certain someone whose actual parents don't even care that she's gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's okay because they're going to be back for prom.
Right. That was the most important part.
Mm-hmm. They're not gone forever, so don't worry.
God, prom.
I didn't go to my senior prom. We went to prom together for your senior prom. Yeah. But I didn't go to mine.
Yeah. Well, we didn't go to... That's gonna make it sound like we were each other's date. We did not go together.
We basically were, Grace.
Okay. Everyone thought we were together, but we were not.
No, my date was my best friend Ray. We were the only out queer people in our grade at the time. Now things have changed, but we were each other's beards. Everyone was so proud of us for being in a straight relationship.
It was so funny for me. That was so funny. But no, I had good prom dates both years. But I just find it so funny looking back on when we were friends in high school. I was literally just talking to my girlfriend about this the other day. Because I sent you a TikTok of these like two straight roommates. One's a male and one's a female or whatever, and they have a shirt that they wear when they go to the bar to like make it obvious to people like we're not dating, because they apparently like weren't getting hit on because everyone thought they were a couple. And I was like, I truly needed that shirt when we became friends, because I think I figured it out. And I think the thing was you were out / people could just kind of tell you were gay. And then with me, they probably had been questioning it. And as soon as I became friends with the lesbian TM of our school, they were like, okay,
my initials are TM.
Oh, that's true. I mean, it makes it work even more. But as soon as like I became your friend, they were like, definitely a lesbian and definitely dating. Oh, that was so funny. But
we were not Caesar sisters. But
not in the slightest. Not in the slightest. There were other layers of other things going on, but we were not together at all.
And people only asked you directly if we were together. Nobody ever questioned my side of anything.
Yeah. No, but it was just so funny because, again, I was very much like in the process of coming out and like realizing that I was gay. But like as soon as I was your friend, they were like, definitely dating. Definitely
That's
dating.
so funny.
It took them 2 seconds. But yeah, so at this point in the movie, they all drive up to New York, almost hit a cow on their way there. They don't. They make it up there, and basically it's super, super tiny town, and they do not find her. And all of the friends are like, we gotta go home. We gotta make it home to prom. And Quentin's like, absolutely not. Gives them the keys to his car and stays. Like, all of his friends just drive right back down to Orlando.
Yeah, but I don't think you really emphasized how long they spent focused on the car journey.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that honestly was probably another big part of why I didn't like it. You know?
I was explaining to my girlfriend a couple days ago that I do not appreciate any story where it's about a journey, like in a vehicle from point A to point B, and that's
it's just
the
traveling,
main bulk of the movie.
No.
I do not care for a travel movie. I'm okay with like a story that involves travel. Like I recently watched White Lotus, and obviously that has some travel in it because they're all on vacation, but they don't spend any time in the airplane. Thank God they don't, because I don't want to see that.
Well,
That's
and if you're
boring as
gonna
shit.
have it be a little moment, like a Bridesmaids, funny airplane scene or two, and then it's done. Like, that's all it was. And there was plenty of travel that like happened in that movie, but that was just like the one little bit that they had. But yeah, the way I made a note, and I think it was like at the 1 hour mark, they had just kind of started to get some clues, and I was like, oh God. And then literally the rest of it is, then I would say it was like 1 hour and 49 minutes. And it was like all the way up until like 1 hour and like maybe like 15 minutes was them trying to find clues. Took forever. It took over half of the movie. And then for the next like 30-40 minutes, they're in a car. And then there's like maybe 8 minutes at the end when they're not
doing anything in the car except talk about like if they should go to prom or not still.
Yeah.
And like where they're gonna be after high school, which like is a big conversation, but I don't care.
Right.
And I didn't care when I was in high school.
Yeah, and I think part of the problem also is like I wasn't invested in their friendship. I honestly questioned a few times like, do they even like each other? Because there are plenty of scenes where like Radar and Ben would go off without Quentin, and Quentin wouldn't even care, and then Radar's like, "You have to come here. Ben's being annoying." Like, do you guys actually like each other? Do you guys actually like each other? And then they're like, "Oh, guys, this is the end of high school," which like I liked high school. I think looking back on it, there's definitely some things about the high school we went to that like, yeah, I could give or take. But like,
Yeah, but you didn't know anything else, Grace.
no, I was suppressing a lot of myself. But overall, I did like high school. I had good friends and I had a pretty good time while I was in high school. Like, I'm not gonna pretend that I didn't. I did like high school, but just the drama of it. And like again, I'm not invested in these friendships. Like I feel like again, like me having such good friendships was what tied me to high school. I wasn't convinced that their friendship was actually even good. So why do they care that they're leaving high school? Why?
Yeah, and I hated high school. I spent most of it in therapy. And I'm also not invested in it. No,
Yeah.
it's funny. It's
Yeah.
funny now.
Yeah.
But yeah, as someone who also just didn't appreciate being in high school and was ready to move on, like it just still wasn't relatable. And I don't get the feeling that they are going to care about each other after high school. So why
No.
are we watching this?
No, and I feel like what they were trying to do with all of the time of them in the car was to show them bonding. And then, because, you know, like it's this ragtag group of people. Like Angela never really hung out with Radar and his friends because Radar was like embarrassed about his family having the largest collection of Black Santas and he was embarrassed of his friends. So it's like Angela is now a part of the group. And Lacey, who was like the hot, popular girl that people didn't appreciate how smart she was, now is friends with these like doofus guys. Like, so they kind of show a little bit of that, but like it's a little too late. Like you guys had a fun adventure together, I guess, but like you can look back and be like, oh yeah, we had a fun adventure, but why would that make you miss all of high school? I guess it kind of felt like a weird leap of logic that didn't make any sense. Like they didn't seem like the type that would have actually missed high school, but were. I don't know. They never, I don't know. But while on this trip, by the way, Ben somehow is able to convince Lacey that he's a good person. And Lacey asks him to go to prom with her. And one of the moments way earlier on in the movie, the first time Lacey ever talks to them as a group, he's like, didn't you hear? She and I are going to prom. Like, she literally talks to Quentin only. And he immediately is like, she wants me. Another moment where I was very annoyed by Ben. So I was very frustrated and did not like that he got what he wanted later.
Men have too much confidence.
Yeah.
Every day I run into a man and I say, you have too much confidence.
And it wasn't even just
really
confidence. It was delusion. She had been talking to Quentin. She hadn't even looked at Ben and he's like, we're going to prom. Oh my God. I was like, shut up. Shut up. It was just so annoying. I was like, she did not even look at you.
Are you stupid or dumb?
Right. And basically, to kind of wrap up the rest of the movie, there's not much of it left once they finally get to New York. The friends go back down, somehow make it back in time for prom. He stays for multiple more hours and eventually actually does find Margot because he's at the bus station to get his ticket back to Orlando. And he sees her just like walking outside and he runs up to her and she was like he totally thought that she was leaving these clues because she wanted to be found by him specifically because she kept referencing paper towns and that was one of their last conversations that they had. But she basically explains that like she's kind of just trying to find herself and she was not meaning to have him follow her. It was just her way of letting him know that she was safe. And he ends up going back. Oh, continue.
I think that's poor planning on her part.
Yeah, like maybe make it a little bit more obvious. Be like, if you follow these clues, you can find me, but don't. I don't know, like some sort of something.
Or she could have just left a direct note like, hey, I'm skipping town. I'm going to be safe though. Bye.
Right. That's a good enough clue in and of itself. You know, something.
But she's not like other girls, so she has to go above and beyond.
Well, it's also just funny because, like, as he gets back on the bus to go back to Orlando, he's like, call your sister. She misses you. And Margot's like, I call her every day. So it just goes to show that sister, not a snitch. Not a snitch at all. Everyone's like, oh my God, she's missing. She's lost. And meanwhile, the whole time, the little sister's like, I know where she is, but I'm just going to let you keep going up to her room for a price. She's out here making money moves. Honestly, hero of the story. She took all of the men's money, and she made a profit off of nothing.
She's the one that's not like other girls, for sure. She's way more special than Margot.
Oh, she is so far beyond Margot, and is going to go so much further than a random town of 10 people. She's going to do much better.
Honestly, Margot's dumb. I mean, she's got this wealthy ass family that she's living with, and she's going to just go skip town when she's in high school with no money, no prospects. Just for funsies.
Like a few weeks left of high school, didn't even graduate first. Mm-hmm. Good luck. Like, good luck.
Yeah, I mean, Margot, later on, you're going to have to get your GED.
Yeah. But, so, you know, he learns that the world doesn't revolve around him, goes back to Orlando, again, multiple hours after his friends go home, somehow still makes it to prom. And his mom doesn't even ask any questions. She's like in his room while he's getting ready for prom. And it's just like, oh, look at my little boy getting ready. Like, was he not just missing for multiple days? And was your car not missing with him? A little strange. But then they just have a little montage of like him and his friends as they leave to college. And the movie's over. And he's like, she actually wasn't my, what's it called? Miracle. I couldn't think of the word. She wasn't my miracle. What did he even say instead of that? He had some final thought.
I don't know. There was some Bon Iver, and the movie was too long, and I just wasn't really paying attention by that point.
Yeah.
I was like, just get over yourself.
Yeah, the trick is to notice that life is happening before it's too late. I was like, okay, cool. They did end when they got to prom. There was a Haim song playing, so I was like, okay, a good song.
It was 2015.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean that's the movie. There it was.
Shit stickers.
Yeah, it was.
I'm gonna give it a 2 shit stickers out of 10.
Why is that the rating system? Am I forgetting something?
They said it at one point in the movie. I don't know. It just seemed like they were really trying to sneak in an S word in there.
Oh, okay. I didn't remember that. I'd give it... Yeah, I think I'm going to also give it a 2 out of 10 because it's disappointing because, again, the story itself doesn't feel like it should have been as bad as it was. And it just was horrible. I didn't care about the characters. I didn't like the characters. The little sister, Ruthie, I think her name was my absolute favorite character by a landslide. And she's in it for 2 minutes and doesn't really add anything to the plot. That just goes to show how bad it was. Thank you to my former roommate, Grace, though, for... giving us this request. Definitely gave us a lot to talk about. Again, did I like it? No. But, you know, I do this for the fans. I do it for the fans, and she is our ultimate fan.
Shout out to you.
Huh?
I said shout out to you, Grace.
Yeah. Where is our... I need to get to our... do you have any movies that you're wanting to watch next? I was trying to get to our list, but...
Have a tiny visitor.
Oh my God, hi, Mar-zipan. Hi, Mar-zipan.
Oh, Mar-zipan has entered the room. She has been sleeping in her bed the entire time, and now she decides to stand on the end of my chair. I think she's getting antsy and needy. She probably wants me to cuddle.
Fair enough. And she will have you back very shortly. Let's look at our list of movies. Again, do you have any specific ones that you've been wanting to watch?
Here's the thing is for context, a while ago I watched But I'm a Cheerleader on YouTube, and since then I have gotten all of these things about free movies on YouTube. And the first one that popped up was Bakery in Brooklyn.
Okay.
I don't know what it is, but the thumbnail or the movie poster just looked really hilarious.
Well, there you have it then. Bakery in Brooklyn it is, I suppose. There we
I
go.
don't know if it's gay because I watched but I'm a Cheerleader, but it does look.
Hey,
I don't know.
I mean, I know our whole premise is gays watching straight movies, but every now and then you gotta cleanse the palate. So if it is gay, good for us.
It has 3 out of 5 stars on IMDb.
Always a good sign.
I don't know. I just thought it looked really funny.
I say we go for it. Absolutely no context as to what it is. We will find out.
Banging.
Absolutely amazing. It's been a pleasure. It was not a great movie, but always great to talk to you. And Mar-zipan, of course.
Oh, hello, Mar-zipan.
Oh, Mar-zipan. Oh.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
See you later. Bye-bye, Grace.